We had a very constructive meeting, a very productive meeting. The 8 of us Minnesotans or public officials agreed we would work together to get this stadium enacted in this legislative session. I'm very, very grateful to Commissioner Goodell and Mr. Art Rooney for taking the time from their very, very busy schedules, as Mr. Rooney pointed out, a week before the draft, so he's, like everyone else in the league, engaged fully in that. So the fact that they came here today, very short notice, cleared their schedules, is something that indicates the importance that they attach to this decision and the gravity of the situation, the immediacy of the situation that faces the decision makers here at the legislature in the next few days. So they're going to need to leave in a couple minutes to catch a plane back. So let me ask the commissioner and Mr. Rooney, the owner of the Pittsburg Steelers, if they would like to make some brief comments. If you want to ask them each just a few questions, then they're going to need to leave. So then the legislators and I will stay around and answer further questions. How's that? All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. We think it was a very productive session today. We appreciate the governor and the legislative leaders and the business leader for being here today. Obviously, I think our presence here is a signal of how important it is to the National Football League that the Minnesota Vikings continue to be here in this community and continue to be successful. We believe that after many, many years that the time has come to pass the legislation to move forward. We expect and hope that after today's meeting that there's a general commitment to be able to do that in this session, and that will assure the fact that the Vikings will be here for a very long time, which is our objective. So we also are fortunate that Art Rooney, as the governor said, as chairman of the stadium committee, was able to join us today. That's an important development for us because we are working to get stadiums built around the country and make sure that our teams are successful and stable in each of their markets. So we are grateful to everyone for being here for this meeting today. Again, believe that it was very productive and hopefully will lead to a resolution that this community will be proud of and will allow the Vikings to continue to be successful here. Art?
Thanks, Governor, for convening the meeting today. It seemed like it was a productive meeting. As the governor said, when I got a call from the commissioner yesterday asking if I could come up here, I said, sure, we can do it after the draft. And he said, no, it's urgent. We need to come up right away. So we came to express our concern about where the situation is and do everything we can to encourage that action needs to be taken now. It seems like there is has been an agreement in place that all the parties have worked out and that you're very close to the goal line. So we just came to see what we could do to encourage the legislature to move the ball across the goal line. And as I said, we seem to have a very productive conversation, and hopefully progress will be made from here.
A couple of questions.
Is there an ultimatum in this situation? If this does not get done this session, this team could be in the
No, there was not. There were no implied threats or any threats at all. What we talked about is the importance of creating a solution here that works for the team and works for the community. And this isn't a new issue. It's been discussed here for several years. And I think the legislative leaders and the governor understand that the time is now to get this addressed.
Commissioner, did you receive the Wolf family giving you any indication of the time frame? They're frustrated, but at what point do they say, it's time for us to leave?
Well, they are frustrated, but they are committed to this community. They want to be here. But they recognize for them to continue to operate here successfully and to field a competitive team, they need to get a new stadium. And I think there's a recognition by everyone in this community that a new stadium is needed.
Commissioner, are you offering any changes to the relocation policy, changing any NFL policies or anything else in light of this situation?
I do not anticipate that.
Did you receive a commitment from everyone in that room to push personally for a deal this session?
Well, I'll let them speak for themselves, but I left feeling as we went around the room that everyone had a commitment to try to work with their various constituents and get this done in this session.
I'm sorry, the commissioner has to leave. We'll glad to. No, that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
So, Hey, go on. Any of the leaders still here or the authors of the bill? How about Maureen? Julie? What's the bill author? Huh? Good to see you. And Julie, Maureen?
I believe that we had a very constructive and productive meeting. We were able to express our commitment that we need to get this to a vote on the House and Senate floor while we're still in session. That is critical. We cannot afford to have this decision delayed another year or pushed off. The time has come for Minnesota to make a decision, for the legislature to make a decision. And so we're committed to doing that. Obviously, it's going to take some legislative maneuvering in order for us to make that happen, but we're committed to helping get it done.
Good morning. It was a very good meeting, and very good to have the commissioner back in town, and Mr. Rooney also. I believe they served us a reality check, and it's greatly appreciated. It is time now to get this bill done. We are moving. We have a local gov meeting today in the Senate. We'll get that bill passed out, and I look forward to getting it to the floor. Again, want to thank the governor and his leadership and everybody in the working group, the bipartisan working group, to put a very good bill forward that satisfies the owners, the NFL, and for the state of Minnesota to have a class art facility for the future. And look forward to getting that passed, and we're going to get it passed.
What was the reality check?
The reality check is that this is the year to do it. We cannot wait till next year.
That impression anyway?
I can talk as much as I want. I think the commissioner talks better, and it is time to do it now.
Senator, how much does this meeting help the pressure?
Can we get each one make a statement, please, and then we'll respond to questions. Go ahead. Senator, go ahead.
Okay. And we'll all be somewhat brief, obviously, and we'll also say thank you, Commissioner, for being here this morning and giving us at least the insights of the NFL on this entire matter. I would say this, from our perspective, obviously, and put it in football vernacular, we're here to move that ball. It's frankly the 2-minute drill, but it's an important time during this legislative session. Our goal will hopefully be to move that ball towards that end zone, and in so doing, hopefully have a good result. But this is a complicated matter. We've got to kind of work through the line, find the right play. But I think in the end, hopefully we can get it to the floor and vote this thing up or down, and hopefully in a manner that certainly keeps the Vikings in Minnesota and preserves the National Football League as part of our heritage.
Well, just again very quickly, the meeting was productive. The meeting was, from our standpoint, very cordial from the league standpoint, from my legislative leader colleagues as well. For those of you who are new here, for those of you who are the Capitol Press Corps, I apologize, but we've continued our commitment, which is it's going to be a fair process. It'll be a bipartisan process. So looking forward, that's what we would look for in this process. Going forward, it will be both not only fair for the supporters, but also for the team, for the owners. The Wilfs have been very gracious. They've been very patient, but as these things go, these are not easy projects. This is not putting up a small facility. This isn't building onto a building. This is a 30-year commitment to not only just one team, but also to the high school league, a number of other events that go in there. So it has to be a good deal for the state of Minnesota, but it also has to be a good deal for the people who are going to use it. So that's our commitment going forward. Appreciate the governor and the league and the meeting. As Senator Senjum's point, it is a 2-minute drill, and things will have to be moving a little bit more quickly.
Well, on behalf of the DFL Senate Caucus, we want to thank the Commissioner and Mr. Rooney and Mr. Grubman for coming into town today, and the very, let me call it, statesman-like approach they have taken trying to resolve this stadium issue here in Minnesota. And I also want to thank Senator Senjum. We talked last week during the Easter break. The Senator Rosen's stadium bill is stalled in the local government committee. He asked me if I would do heavier lifting. They're having a hard time getting Republican votes in that committee, and I told him I would get back to him. We talked a couple times earlier this week about it, and we've made a decision as Democrats, subject to however the bill is amended, I guess, in the committee, to do heavier lifting than probably should be required of us to move the bill out of the local government committee today. I want to thank Senator Senjum for encouraging Senator Vanderveer to hold the hearing so that we're able to do that. And I would like to get this issue resolved this year. I think it's harder next year. We're managing another significant budget deficit. We're going to have about 1/3 of the legislature turn over in this election cycle, so we're going to have 60-some new members of the legislature next year that will have to be brought up to speed on the fact that this is about more than a football field. It's about more than 10 football games a year. There are hundreds of other events that take place at the Metrodome today that we can expect to have happen at this new facility. So looking forward to continuing to educate the public on that this is more than a football field, and hope that we're successful this year, because I think it's easier this year than next.
Well, it's good to go last because everybody said it already. So speaking on behalf of our caucus, I mean, I think that what I would say came out of the meeting, which is very productive, is that everybody understands that this is a serious issue, and it's time for us to get very serious about moving this bill forward and seeing if we can get the bill passed this year. I would agree that if we're going to do it, the time to do it is this year. And we're committed to acting and taking on the responsibility of that prospect in a serious manner, asking the serious questions about this proposal, making sure those questions are answered, making sure that the public has input in getting those questions answered. But at the end of the day, this is an issue that's important to the state of Minnesota, and we're very much committed to treating it as such. Thanks.
So the legislative leaders and the authors have other things to do. I'm just hanging around, so I'm going to ask them to take a few questions where they have to go. I'll answer questions after they're departed.
Realistically, how does this change things?
Sure.
Does this change things in this meeting? And if so, how?
Is there anything new the NFL had to say?
I think it brings certainly elevates the tone, the tenor, the importance of this. Not to say that wasn't there, but as we're into this 2-minute drill, I think it's important from the standpoint of a show of urgency. And we again appreciate the commissioner coming to Minnesota today to express the importance of the Vikings to the NFL, and certainly his support for keeping the Vikings here. So in that sense, I think it was a good visit.
Is there any new consensus reached of any kind, or are people leaving with essentially positions they've had?
No, I think the feeling really, frankly, always has been, let's see if we can bring this to a vote this session. So I don't think in that sense it's changed.
Same bill, or are there going to be changes in bills?
Well, that's up to the authors. Well, no, I kind of dance at the with the person that brought you, and but we'll see. I mean, the authors certainly have some possibilities there, perhaps in terms of some amendments, but it's going to be essentially the same bill.
Was the viability of the LA market brought up, or was that clarified at all?
No, I mean, certainly, could the Vikings move? Maybe, but no. The emphasis was on keeping the Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. I mean, that was clear and loud. That's why they came. That's why this is important. We want to keep the Vikings in Minnesota. Whatever we need to do that, that's certainly reasonable and can pass the legislative test. That's our goal.
Does the delegation ask about the viability of the whether that's a threat?
No, I don't remember any conversation like that along the lines of that question.
Representative Thiessen, if I may, and then for the speaker, two-part question. Are you, as your Senate counterpart said, willing to do heavier lifting than required on the House side? And, Mr. Speaker, can you guarantee an up-down vote on the floor of the Minnesota House this session?
So, I mean, I've said all along there's going to be Democrats that support it and Democrats that oppose it. You know, it depends on what the proposal is, but we're willing to take this proposal very seriously and do what we think is right for the people of Minnesota.
And, you know, I'll be respectful, and you know, I think we've showed in the committees so far. You know, went through 2 committees, Commerce Committee, very important committee with bipartisan support. I agree with Paul. There's going to be Democrats that are going to be an absolute no. There'll be Republicans that'll be an absolute no. But as the bill has moved through the process, you will build consensus. But this isn't unlike any other bill at the legislature. In fact, it's very unique in that it is a very difficult bill. These are very complicated bills that are not easily voted up or down. Are you for taxes, against it? Or do you like this road? Do you like that road? This is a very intricate and complex process. So to say today that it's the final product as it will go through, I don't think any of us can say that, but I do believe we're committed. Again, the committees that it's gone through so far, you've seen our support. You'll continue to see our support from the members who want to support it, but it is, you know, again, moving through the process.
What can you guarantee, Mr. Speaker, that there'll be a vote on some package, an up or down vote on the floor of Minnesota House today?
You know, I think we'll have that answer for you in the next couple of days. I think, you know, right now I think it's a little too early. You know, essentially the bill is dead. It, you know, died in GovOps, but you know, there's creative ways around here to make sure that things do continue to move. So it's live in the Senate. And maybe that'll be the best first step.
Will the authors come up and say if they're going to make any changes in their bills or they're proposing changes in bills based on today's meeting?
Well, obviously there's going to be changes to individual bills going forward. We have amendments that are going to be offered perhaps today in local gov. I'm not sure if there's going to be any other changes today that are substantial, but that's why we have a conference committee to move forward, and we'll negotiate those changes and have a bill sent to the floor.
Nothing out of today's meeting, though.
I think there'll be some amendments, not from me.
Senator Rolf, you said reality check earlier. Was that an ultimatum?
No, there was absolutely no there's no ultimatum, but we did clearly talk about LA. We did clearly talk that is an open market, and I do believe there is a feeling in some legislators and even some folks out into the state that they would never leave. So it was good to hear from the NFL and from a very prominent team owner that they do have the right to move or to be sold. And so that's, for us, it was good to get everybody on the same table, on the same page, saying this is the year that this needs to be done and we need to move forward.
People talked about LA or the NFL ownership.
The commissioners said that. Commissioners said that.
And you believe that that's a viable market that a team could be in?
Earlier in the week, the Vikings said there is no next year, a no decision is a decision. Did the commissioner and Mr. Rooney re-emphasize that hey, no decision, then this is in your hands, you're on notice?
Well, very definitely. They said that no action here is essentially a no on the stadium, and that would create an environment of uncertainty that would be increasingly beyond our control here in Minnesota and even beyond the league. So, they're very careful not to issue what people would call a threat. But if you tell somebody that if you jaywalk across the street, you're likely to get run over, and somebody does it. I mean, that's not a threat. That's just a warning. I mean, it's just saying here's the probable consequence of what you do or don't do, and that's the way I took what their comments were. I mean, they're talking reality. They wouldn't have canceled their schedules today on 24-hour notice and come out, and as Mr. Rooney said, week before the NFL draft, if they didn't think this were an urgent situation, and they do. And I think someone said it well in the meeting. If not this year or next year, if we don't build a new stadium, the Vikings are going to leave. They're not going to sign a lease for the Metrodome, and they're not going to stay here without a lease. They're not going to stay in a stadium where they're 31st out of the 32 stadiums in revenue. So, the writing's on the wall, and I think it's imperative this legislature act. I'm very, very encouraged that the 8 of us over there who are the public officials, the House and the Senate, and Republicans, Democrats, myself, we all said, we're going to get this done. And as I said there, if we all work together, it'll pass. If we don't work together, it'll fail. And it's not going to be easy, but it's as simple and straightforward as that.
Can you clarify something? We had two questions asked of two different lawmakers regarding Los Angeles being brought in. And we got two different answers. So as the man in the middle, can you describe the discussion of Los Angeles?
Well, I think one of the legislators brought the subject up. The commissioner, excuse me, again said, you know, I mean, they said they would like to have a team in Los Angeles. They would like to have it be not the Vikings. There are other franchises that are likely to possible to go, and he said there are other places beyond Los Angeles, he didn't elaborate, that are interested in a team. So, you know, whether the Vikings get sold, somebody's going to move them, or they're moved, you know, they didn't address that, and no one knows. What they again said is going to create a lot of uncertainty, and essentially Minnesota is going to be backing the Vikings and the league into a corner, and giving them sort of no way out except to take the back door out, because, you know, it's clear to them that this state won't support the team. And from their standpoint, they've been very patient. The Wilsons have been very patient. They referred back to 2006 when the legislature approved the stadiums for the Gophers and for the Twins, and they were told next year you'll get yours. Well, obviously that didn't happen. So, you know, when we say wait till next year, it really doesn't have much credibility with them. I mean, I think it's the same dynamic. You know, I mean, the fact is, after the November election would be the only time, and if not now, why would it be different? You know, after that, and you know, that's what 6 months away, 7 months, and so, you know, again, it creates this time of uncertainty, and it sends a message to the owners and to the league that, you know, we don't want to do this, and there's just not the political willingness to do it.
Was there a discussion about a path forward, essentially saying to the commissioner and Mr. Rooney, okay, this is how we are going to get this done specifically, and this is how we can do it?
A brief conversation, but, you know, I kind of cut that off and said, you know, that's for the 8 of us to thrash out when their time is valuable, and they made this effort. So we talked really about the big picture, and you know, they asked what can they do to be supportive and to be helpful, and I said, you're coming out here and underscoring the urgency of it, and there isn't a next year out. Is very, very important, and you know, that was the message they wanted to deliver to the legislative leaders as well as to myself and to the people of Minnesota.
Did you or anybody ask the NFL to bring together more private money to make this deal easier sell with skeptical lawmakers?
No, they indicated that the league has a new program that allows, if a team meets certain qualifications, which the Vikings do, that they can borrow up to $200 million from the league, and that becomes, you know, an option for the Wills. But we didn't talk about changing the public-private share of it, and we talked. Senator Bach raised a question. Senator Rosen followed up with. You want to talk about the clawback provision, so-called, in the bill, and the difference between the Vikings and the Twins, Mr. Baker, Doug Baker, the chairman of the Ecolab, is good to have a business person there. He said, well, you know, the poll is at a very low basis for buying the Twins back in 82, 83. And so, you know, for them just to agree to the whole amount is very different from somebody who's bought, you know, has a basis of $600 million and is looking at whether it's above that or everything. So, you know, those are the kind of questions. I don't know if Senator Representative, you want to call that?
Governor?
Let me just say that we have a good bill. A bill that has been painfully negotiated over a long period of time. And if it is to go forward in the legislative process, there may very well be some changes that come up along the way as it goes through the process. At this point, it would be premature for anybody to speculate on what, if any, changes there might be as we go through the process. I want to make one other point to all of you. To underscore the significance of this meeting today. The commissioner has been here before. I've had meetings with him before, as have the governor. We've had lots of discussions with NFL officials along the way. But this really is the first time that all four legislative leaders, the governor, and the bill authors have sat down around the table together and really talked about how we might be able to help move this process along. And to me, that's a very significant step. And I thank the governor, I thank the commissioner, I thank the legislative leaders for their willingness to participate in this so we can get this job done.
So are you more optimistic based on the fact that everybody got the group together? What's your sense about the
Well, I've always had hope. I've never given up hope, even Monday night when it looked awfully bleak. And I don't know if anybody's actually pulled a rabbit out of the hat yet, but I think we have some indications that maybe there is a way to go forward.
Doug, has anybody, have the leaders given you any sense of a nose count? If this thing goes over the line, do you have any sense of what happens?
No, they haven't. I mean, they've all committed to doing their best. Obviously, it's split within both caucuses on both sides. You know, it's not a partisan issue. There are Republicans who are for the stadium, there are Republicans who are against it, there are Democrats for it, Democrats against it. So that we just, talked about getting it on the floor, and I don't think any of them. It also obviously depends on exactly what the language of the bill is, the structure of the deal. So I don't think any of them were in a position to say, and no one was asked to make firm commitments on that, but they all said they would do their best.
Governor, what did the NFL have to say here that's new? I mean, they've been saying it's got to be this year. They've been saying the Vikings have to have a stadium. What was new today?
Well, I think, as Representative Lanning said, the fact that all the legislative leaders and the authors of the bill were all here in one room to hear the same message, the fact that Commissioner came from New York, Mr. Rooney came from Pittsburgh on very short notice, underscores the importance the league attaches to that, and also the fact that this is a league concern and not just a Viking concern. It's about how the league views its stability and its viability and what's necessary to achieve that. And so this is not a Viking decision by itself. They, as pointed out, they have very strict measures to prevent teams from just unilaterally leaving, but they have criteria that they believe have been met in terms of the weight and the time, and if the stadium vote is against it, the lack of any likelihood that it would come back successfully in the future. So for all those reasons, they were here basically to say, this is it, folks. And I would concur.
Governor, have you spoken at all to Ziggy or Mark Wilf this week? Have they made any more personal appeals or tried to push this process forward?
I spoke with both the Wilfs on the same call Wednesday afternoon and relayed, at that point I had a conversation with the commissioner and knew that he and Mr. Rooney were tentatively planning to come out today. So it was, I said we have better news to report to you than Monday night or Tuesday morning, and that I'd say keep them posted, and I intend to get back to them this afternoon and fill them in.
So what happens from here? Do you meet with the authors or leadership more, or do you wait for it to go through committees?
No, I haven't totally figured that out yet. I have to see what their interest is, what they think is most productive. I mean, I'll go speak at any of the caucuses. I'll go invite any legislator to my office. I'll take. I'll go to their offices. I'll bring Mingo and Natasca to their offices. I mean, whatever it takes. So I need to find out from them what they need in order to have me have a productive role. But I said before, if the 8 of us, the 4 leaders, the 2 authors, and the ranking House member, and myself, if all 8 of us pull together and work together and are truly committed to passing this bill, it will pass. If we're not, if we don't work together, it won't.
Governor, you said that that this situation has met some criteria according to the NFL. Did they tell you what they were? How many there were? How many of those criteria?
No, we didn't get into the details. They've got a policy that's online or whatever, and But no, their main point was, you know, going back again, that this has been going on for 10 years, that in 2006 the team was told, according to them, that they would get it next year, and obviously we're now at 2012, so they believe the team has been, and the league have been extremely patient, have gone through all this doubt and uncertainty, and that more of that's just intolerable.
One more question. Commitment from the House, especially to move the bill on.
Both House and Senate are going to do their best to move their respective bills on to the floor, and then that'll be a crucial vote. And then presumably they'll have to go to conference committee because there'll be differences and worked out, and then they'll have to go through another vote. So there's hurdles there, but they're not going to be easy, but they're doable. Thank you.